So the Battlefield 6 beta just ended, and I spent much more time than I thought I would playing this one over the course of the entire weekend. And I was even fortunate enough to get early access this past Thursday and literally have just been playing it on and off ever since. Not really here to discuss my thoughts on the beta, but one thing that really stuck in my mind while I was playing it was just how much I missed simplistic, classic style multiplayer games. Now, when I say simplistic multiplayer games, I'm not really talking about the concepts and the game modes and stuff like that. Rather, what I mean is a game that just sort of allows you to go in, have fun. You know, there is a progression tree, there are unlocks, but you're not constantly pushed to engage in stuff like season passes, events, activities, and just updates over the course of the weeks and months ahead. Like, I just really miss the idea of being able to get into a game, have fun, and just not worry about all this other crap surrounding it, or rather just choose what you want to do and like what you want to unlock and work your way to get that, but just not feel pressured by having to participate in things that you don't care about, or just out of fear that you're going to get left behind after the next season begins. Like, the concept of the forever game has just plagued many multiplayer games today, and I believe it's caused these series to just downright abandon everything that they were about in favor of what sells, what gains interest, and what keeps people constantly stupefied at like what ridiculous next thing they're going to reveal in the next week or month ahead. It's ultimately just killed my interest entirely in even checking out many of these multiplayer games. I haven't played COD in a couple of years at this point. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of this has to do with just time constraints and just the general idea that I'm older now and I can't really dedicate myself to playing one single game, nor do I really want to do that anyway. And also, probably, you know, if we dig in deeper, it's due to my reflexes having slowed. So like the moment I go up against, you know, any more experienced player, I'm just immediately put in my place. And this happens constantly. In fact, you're going to see it in this gameplay that I have of the beta here. This footage of Battlefield 6, by the way, was of one of my last matches before the beta went offline on Sunday. So it's pretty much where I am currently in terms of my skill level right now. My aim is all over the place. I move around. I don't really, you know, see things sort of as clearly, or I don't really respond to things as quickly, rather. But man, you know, I still had such a great time playing this game. It was such a breath of fresh air to me because it really felt like the true sequel to Battlefield 4 in so many ways. You know, now I enjoyed Battlefield 1 and the change to a World War I setting. I thought that was really cool. I had a lot of fun with the multiplayer, and I did a lot of gameplay for you guys on that. But Battlefield 5 was just a mess at launch and many months after that. It wasn't until the Japanese map expansions where things got a lot better with that game. And due to 2042 not including a single player campaign, I just didn't care to play it or even give it a chance. And from what I heard, it was just another disappointing outing at launch and for many months until the game was just updated and filled with much more content. You know, this was always sort of the pace with the Battlefield games, is that they launched a little bit buggy, a little bit, you know, unfinished, and then you had to wait for many months. And, you know, this was the problem with the last couple games. But I feel like we're basically getting the full package here with Battlefield 6. It's got the campaign, it's got the multiplayer. I think they teased that Firestorm was even coming back for those that care. So, you know, it's got all these elements that make it sort of feel like a late 7th gen or early 8th gen multiplayer game. You know, and Vince Zampella is at the helm, and you know, especially after playing, I have to say that I was hopeful before I played it. I was really hoping that they were going to get this one right because I missed just great Battlefield multiplayer. It hasn't been around for a very long time. But I have to say that after playing it, I'm now confident this is going to be a super fun, you know, intense experience that is just going to, you know, really keep me invested for many months. And it's going to be one that I return to just to have a lot of fun playing, even if I'm not going hardcore at it every single moment. Honestly, it's been forever since we've had a game like this. Now, Call of Duty still has its core modes, and even though you can jump in and just kind of have your 10 to 15 minutes of fun, if you will, you're still reminded of all the bullshit when you see characters running across the map who have nothing in the way to do with the core game or the story or anything like that. But, it's pop culture, it makes people happy. You can't really get away from it in that game. But in Battlefield 6, there's just none of that. And I love that DICE basically said that they don't want any of it in their game. Like, they literally rejected that entirely. They said it's grounded warfare, it's a military shooter, let it be a military shooter. And I think that's great. You gotta feel bad for people who are teenagers growing up in this era of games, because innovation and like the push for realism, unique and creative experiences, and just the element of really trying, and trying different things, it's all but gone now. Everyone's sort of trend chasing, going after what is the most popular, trying to be the next big thing, and sort of rarely innovating. Things get launched that are broken and half-assed, and you just wait for many months, and then all of a sudden, a couple of years down the road, people are still playing it, still trying to give it a chance. It's just really unfortunate. The most exciting thing for me about Battlefield 6 is that it's literally not bringing anything new to the table. It's just going back to what it always was before. And it's just awesome. It's just a straightforward military multiplayer shooter with great modes, massively improved but still intense Battlefield gunplay. It's just all doing this by sticking to its core roots and not trying to appease to tweens and teens and just the pop culture Fortnite craze. I just think it's fantastic. And it's still a game with a slight learning curve as well. It demands patience, it demands a slower pace to your gameplay, it demands some light teamwork and sticking to your classes and really coordinating with people. And while that may not be fully accessible, that is the way the games always were. There was always this sort of a learning curve that went with these games. And yeah, you can go off and kind of do your own thing, but the game really rewards when you're sticking with a squad and setting orders and scouting people and stuff like that. It really rewards that type of gameplay more so. And whether or not there is to be the introduction to seasons and monthly content updates for this game remains to be seen. These days the expectation is to just update the game with new maps and content and just sell people skins and items, but I almost get excited at the potential that map packs are going to come back and we're going to see DLC game modes like the close quarter content stuff from like Battlefield 3 or maybe even like Onslaught from Bad Company 2, like those days and those types of DLC content releases. You gotta wonder if we're ever gonna see that stuff happen again. And I think the curious thing is what will be Call of Duty's response to all this, because Battlefield was always Call of Duty's main competitor. But then Call of Duty went downhill and sort of came back with the Modern Warfare reboot, and then Battlefield went downhill and is sort of now coming back with Battlefield 6. So, it's just going to be super interesting to see that if COD does continue to chase down this Fortnite crowd, what that is going to entail. Or are they going to renege on that entirely, just do a 180 and return to the core military warfare that we've been sorely missing, and now Battlefield is filling that void? Either way, I guess we'll have to wait to see what happens there. I think a lot of it is going to come down to the audience. If Call of Duty still retains its fan base and there is no drop off in players for them, then likely what we'll see is Microsoft and Activision just continue down that same path. But if we do see a drastic shift in player base and the types of players who sort of want, this particular experience and only invest in a game that provides them that particular experience, we might see them go the other way. But in any case, I had a great time playing this beta, and I just look forward to jumping back in the upcoming weekend ahead. And it just really surprised me. I honestly can't recall the last time I had this much fun with a multiplayer game. Maybe Halo Infinite at launch, but to me, I really enjoyed what 343 did to resurface that franchise, and the only problem with Halo Infinite that it was sort of mishandled after launch. It didn't do enough to the game, and it got boring and it got stale very, very quickly. So I'm just hoping that, you know, they don't do that with Battlefield 6, that it comes out that they have a plan, that they stick to their guns there, and that they're just constantly updating the game, and that it's just great to have these franchises back, you know, as an option for players. It's just awesome. Anyway, let me know if you guys played the Battlefield 6 beta. What was your favorite thing about it? Are you like me and do you miss these sort of classic style multiplayer games, or do you really enjoy the current season-based constant updates and never-ending content and support that we get with a lot of games today? I'll look forward to hearing what you guys think, and thank you very much for watching, and hope you all have a fantastic day.